Where are you going? I'm just having a little walk down memory lane.
We've got a very pleasant card for you this week.
Do you promise?
Cross my heart and hope to die. Well, maybe not die.
Cross your heart and hope to get toothache?
Oh no, not toothache. Cross my heart and hope to have a painless and non-fatal mishap. The Six of Cups is a card of nostalgia, pleasant memories and innocence. The Waite Smith card signifies thinking back to our golden years and the times when life was easy. Arthur Waite has quite a straightforward description for this one. He simply says, children in an old garden, their cups filled with flowers. So the children on the card can represent our own inner child. In psychology, this concept is based on the idea that our past experiences from childhood can have a significant impact on our emotional well-being and behaviour as a grown-up. Inner child work is a method of communicating with that part of ourselves, with the aim of healing emotional wounds, fostering self-compassion and promoting personal growth.
Have I got an inner child?
No, you are the inner child. By definition, you are the archetype of the inner child. If we tried to dig down any deeper than your ego, we'd hit the bedrock of reality. You're like Peter Pan if Peter Pan thought the world was a giant melon.
I'm going to prove it one day, then we'll see who's laughing.
The card also represents giving and receiving gifts. Pollack says in this sense the card shows the past giving a gift of memories to the future, symbolised by the child. The Thoth Tarot also has a delightful image for us. We seem to be having a good time across the board with this one. Crowley and Harris came up with a very cheerful design featuring blue skies and lots of shining gold. Crowley says the lotus stems are grouped in an elaborate dancing movement. From their blossoms, water gushes into the cups. Smack bang in the centre of the card we can see the solar symbol. Not only does this tie in with the Zodiac attribution, but also the Kabbalistic correspondence of Tiferet, which we'll get to later. It's all looking very sunny. Milo Duquette says the 4 and 5 of cups seem like bad dreams, probably brought on by consuming too much rich food and wine. This is another reminder of why you shouldn't go to bed straight after eating. Anyway, Crowley wanted to make a distinction between the higher ideals of this card and what we might refer to as base desires. He says foreign to the idea of the card is the gratification of natural or artificial desires.
So I got some of those memory foam pillows. Ooh, very nice. How are they? Rubbish. I still keep forgetting things.
The Sforza and Marseille cards have got over 100 cups on them in every colour of the rainbow.
No, they haven't.
I know, I've just run out of things to say about them, so I've started lying. The Solar Busker card sees the return of the Cherubs, and they're back as a three-piece. No musical instruments this time. It looks like they've decided to take up climbing, and are practicing by clambering all over a giant cup.
This tarot announces pleasant memories to you.
Sorry.
The Hermetic title for the Six of Cups is Lord of Pleasure.
So in this case we're talking about pleasure in the sense of a deep resounding joy, as opposed to the sort of short-lived visceral experience of eating a donut or visiting a left-handed website. Crowley says pleasure in the title of this card must be understood in its highest sense. It implies well-being, harmony of natural forces without effort or strain, ease, satisfaction. We live in a time when instant gratification is around us constantly, always there and ready to tempt us into distraction. I touched on this when I made my video for the Hermit. Whether it's mobile phones, social media, fast food, or even shopping, all these things affect the reward circuitry in the brain. Various industries figured this out a long time ago and have become very efficient at luring us away from what we should be doing and down the rabbit hole of staring at our phones comparing different musical toilet roll holders. In many ways, this ties in with the idea of self-love.
Ooh, now you're talking.
No, not that kind of self-love. That's going back to the left-handed websites again. As a polar opposite to instant gratification, self-love can often mean doing things that we don't necessarily want to do, but which we know will have a positive impact on our lives. Whether it's our spiritual practice, spending time working toward our goals, going to the gym, or anything that's going to benefit us in the long term. I've found that the terms self-love and self-discipline are almost interchangeable when it comes to this idea. I talked about it in my video for the Emperor. On a side note, you've probably noticed that I keep referring back to the major arcana cards. That's because ultimately they're at the root of everything, and the Emperor is the quintessential archetype of self-discipline. Anyway, Will Smith had some good things to say about this. This is before he got into the habit of beating the bejesus out of people at award ceremonies. He said self-discipline is self-love. If you want to be happy, you have to love yourself, which means you have to discipline your behavior. Now, ironically, we all know that he didn't manage to discipline his behaviour at the Oscars, but the point he's making is still valid. And none of this is to say that we should live like monks and avoid anything that's remotely entertaining. But if we can spend less time scrolling through mindless crap and focus instead on our well-being, then true happiness is waiting for us on the other side.
The Six of Cups corresponds to the Scorpio zodiac sign and is ruled by the sun.
The sun seems to shine on every aspect of this card. We've still got our little dancing arachnid friends, but now they're sunning themselves and knocking back tequilas on the beach. Duquette says the sun is outrageously happy to be in Tiferet and shines with double warmth and pleasantness on the sensuous and fun-loving side of Scorpio.
I say, old bean, how tremendously spiffing.
Sometimes Scorpios can be quite mysterious and fond of their own company, but when the sun shines on them, it brings out their passionate and charismatic side. This can manifest itself as a magnetic personality that draws people toward them. It connects to the Six of Cups in the sense that Scorpios can be very good at exploring themselves and digging beneath the surface. That takes us back to the idea of communicating with our inner child that we were talking about earlier. Sun in Scorpio celebrities include Pretty Woman Julia Roberts, technology overlord Bill Gates, and California girl Katy Perry. Apparently Katy Perry is a triple Scorpio. I've learned this week that means that her sun, moon and rising are all in Scorpio, and she even released an album called Scorpio Season. Anyway, multiply everything I've just said by 3 and you've got Katy Perry.
The Six of Cups resides in the world of Briar and sits at the 6th Sephira of Tiferet on the pillar of mildness.
Well, what do you know? We're back at the sunny Sephira for this one. So the previous 2 Sephirot were Hesed and Geberah, which translate to mercy and severity. Tiferet is the perfect balanced combination of these. It sits in the middle of the pillar of mildness, which runs down the center of the tree, and is considered to be the path to enlightenment and spiritual ascent. According to Samuel McGregor Mathers in the Kabbalah Unveiled, and from these 2 issued the uniting Sephira Tiferet, beauty or mildness, represented by the divine name, Eloav Da'at.
The Six of Cups herb is watermelon. Egyptians said the watermelon was chief of this world's luxuries.
Hand me a slice of that watermelon, Anubis.
Bugger off and get your own, bird brain.
But what does it all mean?
The Six of Cups is a card of nostalgia and happy memories. It encourages us to embrace the simplicity and happiness of the past and maybe use that as a means of emotional healing. Waite says a card of the past and of memories, looking back, as for example on childhood, happiness, enjoyment, but coming rather from the past, things that have vanished. So things that don't exist anymore, like renting movies on VHS, outside toilets where you have to sing, spangles, fixing the tape in your Walkman, the wind inflating your shell suit and making you look like the Michelin Man, the unironic moustache.
Can we get back to the card?
Sorry, Rachel Pollack makes the point that we can try to view the past objectively, or we can end up seeing it through rose-tinted glasses. She says as cards of benevolent emotion and dreams, the cups signify sweet memories. Sometimes these memories truly represent the past. At other times we may idealize the past and see it through a haze of security and happiness. She goes on to warn us that when someone becomes fixated on the past, their mental and emotional energy is directed backward rather than toward the present or the future, so it's something to keep in mind. However, the overarching theme of the card is going back to good times. It can be telling us to reconnect with old friends we've not seen for a while, or to just enjoy the feeling of emotional warmth and comfort we get from these memories. The Thoth card takes us straight to the emotional experience of pleasure. Milo Duquette says if this is the first card you draw in a tarot reading, you may want to stop right there and quit while you're ahead.
A dark-haired woman filled with wickedness will cause you much inconvenience.
It's all about looking to the future when the card appears upside down. Waite says reverse to the future, renewal, that which will come to pass presently. So we're talking about making plans and thinking about where we're going next. Pleasant memories are all well and good, but we also need to keep an eye on the road ahead of us. Rachel Pollack says the 6 reversed shows a move towards action. Specifically, it shows looking toward the future rather than the past.
This card in the reverse announces an inheritance, which you've been expecting for a very long time. Your great aunt has left you a genuine Stradivarius and a genuine Van Gogh.
Oh, fantastic. I can sell those for millions.
Not really. Stradivarius was an awful painter and Van Gogh made terrible violins.
The big takeaway for the Six of Cups is the idea of reconnecting with the past and rediscovering the innocence and simplicity of childhood. It can be a reminder to see the happiness in the small cherished moments of life. Tom Stoppard once said, "If you carry your childhood with you, you never become older."
Congratulations! You've managed to put up with even more mindless brain farts here at Kippi's Quest. May the coming days bring you sweet memories, and we hope you'll give us the gift of liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Until next time.